This is episode 166 of DadAwesome, and I'm so thankful you're joining us today. Some of you watching on YouTube right now are like, what is up with the road bike behind you in the video shot? And again, I want to remind you guys, we have launched registration for Fathers for the Fatherless. And the quick vision here is that we have just found that by mobilizing a group of dads to do something hard, to train to ride their bikes 100 miles, by rallying together around a mission of riding 100 miles and a cause that breaks our Heavenly Father's heart, the cause of fatherless kids, we actually, by leveraging our strength, our influences, our checking account, our calendar, we become more intentional dads on the home front. We grow deeper friendships, and actually we prepare, by doing a hard thing physically, we prepare our hearts as dads to do some more heart work. So it's just it's a cause that's way bigger than giving $1 million away, and that is our prayer. It's our goal is to give $1 million to the fatherless, but we also, our prayer is that dads go home and are way more intentional, and the ripple effect of that, it has massive impact. So Fathers for the Fatherless, just go to f4f.bike and it'll be in the show notes, the link. You can sign up. We're in 5 different cities. So that's your quick commercial for Fathers for the Fatherless. Today I have my friend and mentor, Pastor Rob Champion. He's in Oklahoma City. He's at People's Church, a campus pastor down there. I've known him for about a decade. He's joining me today. His wife, Nikki, and him, they've been married 25 years. They've got a 20-year-old daughter, an 18-year-old son. And today we're going to go into a whole bunch of topics. But Pastor Rob and I, man, we share so many passions for men's ministry and for the inner work. And then he gets real practical. He talks about teenage. In fact, we're going to start with a question about adding life to the dad life for teenagers. Specifically, I was like, talk to me about raising teenagers and where have you seen life in the dad life. So here's Pastor Rob Champion, episode 166 of DadAwesome. Where do you think, when you see dads like really loving being dads and seeing these moments of, and this is a thriving, flourishing moment of fatherhood versus surviving. Can you talk about just what you think are some of the factors that make for adding life to the dad life in the high school years?
Man, I think it's everything's so connected. And so my relationship with my kids through their early years allows for the high school years to be one that is really enjoyable, building more of that coaching, that friendship type of situation. And so really trying to be intentional about being involved in their world. I think the biggest thing I'm learning in this season is as I'm shifting from, specifically coaching to really becoming more of a friend and walking alongside of my kids in their young adult years. And learning to have great conversations. They're starting to develop their own way of thinking. And so really taking time to just be intentional and remember that God has them on a journey.
Yep.
And just like God has me on a journey, I want my kids to be further along than I was when I was at their age. And I have to remember, okay, God's got them in the palm of his hand. And so those are some of the things I think, learning how to still lead and direct them and coach them, but at the same time giving them a little bit of leash to let them grow into it as well. So.
I think that's interesting the way you talked about, like there's a development long before high school of preparation, then coach mode is, I think, the way you described high school, and then into friendship mode that has maybe some coaching elements too, but more friendship.
Does. Yeah.
Would you go into that a little further, just maybe what you mean by the progression?
So I think, there's a training session, you're training your kids early on to really understand. You're pouring values into them early in their age when they're young. And then as they kind of get older, you're kind of teaching and developing them and training them. And there's the discipline and showing them right from wrong and helping them take those steps. And now it's kind of shifted towards, for me, in the high school years, is more coaching. I'm still leading, I'm still directing, I'm asking questions, I'm trying to help guide them in the ways that are better decisions, still training them on a few things here and there, but really allowing the coaching to come out of relationship rather than out of do this because I said so type of aspect. And so I think with each phase of a child's development, parenting looks a little different. And I'm learning to embrace that season and to allow, if a relationship is good, I think that's the key thing. I think also we see with the Lord. If relationship is established well at the get go, and then continues to be sustained throughout, you can go in and out of those different levels of parenting, and you're still helping to lead your kid in great ways, helping them to become all that God wants them to be. So the coaching is more of a, man, you have a decision to make, or there's some things that you need to do. Okay, let's talk about that. Let's have a conversation about that. Hey, how is this helping you? Is this really the destination that you want to get to? So really utilizing a lot of questions rather than telling them what to do. It's more helping them to realize and understand, yeah, this may not lead to the outcome that I want.
Right.
And helping them come to that realization. And so really trying to help lead their developmental processing and to think well. If that makes sense.
Well, something you said a couple minutes ago, you said, hopefully to be taking steps to be a step ahead of where I was in that place. So you didn't describe perfection being your goal, but a step ahead. And that actually takes me to the backdrop of going back to you as a kid and what you saw modeled for you from your dad, your mom. And so let's rewind for a moment. What things did you say, hey, I want to do the same as I saw from my dad? And then what areas did you say, hey, I want to, and leveling up's not a bad thing. When I say level up, it's just like, no, that's a gift we have, just like the gift you're giving your kids, to level up intentionality, level up helpfulness and coaching. So yeah, talk about both sides of it though, what you tried to repeat and what you tried to take a different course.
Totally. My dad, he was a single in a single parent home. He grew up in low income housing. His dad wasn't around. And so my dad really didn't have a model of really what it meant to be a good father. And so he did the best that he could. He knew what he didn't want. He knew he wanted to stay around for his kids.
Yep.
So one of the things I really appreciate about my dad is I'm the oldest of 6 kids. And so my mom was pregnant with me. He decided he's going to stick around. He married this woman, and so he married her, was committed to giving us the best life that he could. He was 18 years old when he got married. So I'm young.
Yeah.
I mean, my son's 18 right now. I can't even imagine him starting a family. I mean, he's nowhere ready. And so my dad, kind of jumped into there. I don't want to give all the history, but he kind of grew up in that environment. I would say the things that I would most want to be like with my dad, the things that I kind of admired about him was he was very he was a hardworking guy, and so he worked hard, very very diligent, really valued education and the importance of making sure that you're going to get an education, that you work hard in school. And so all of us were A/B students, honor roll students growing up. My dad was really, really big into that. And then also instilling in us an understanding of our identity. Because my mom was white, my dad's black, I grew up biracial. And so there was comments kids would say on who were white, and then kids that were black that would say different things. And so I was kind of in the middle of a lot of racial kind of weirdness and identity crisis for a lot of people. But my dad always kind of helped reinforce my identity and help me understand who I was, that I am white and I'm black, and the importance of understanding both of those as part of my heritage personally, and not allowing other people's thoughts to cause me to question who I am, and even who I am in God. And so that was a huge foundational piece. And I would say that's something I want to try to continue to perpetuate in the lives of my kids. As far as an area for just kind of leveling up, so to speaking, and kind of getting better, because my dad never had a dad, I don't think he really knew how to grow as well in a relationship with a son. And so having a son of my own, one of the things I'm wanting to do is making sure that I'm really having great relationship with him. My dad had a great relationship with my sister, who's the second oldest. But with me, it was challenging. I think he was 18 years old. He's trying to figure out, what does this even need to look like?
Fully.
And so I have so much grace from my dad. He's the one who led our family to Christ. He had an encounter with the Lord, and that encounter actually changed the trajectory of generations. I'm a pastor today because of his decision to follow after Christ.
Yeah.
And so those wonderful things. But I would say I really am wanting to grow in my relationship with my kids, that as we get older, as they become more adults, that we not just have a father-son relationship, but that we actually have a friend relationship. That's kind of one of the biggest areas I'm trying to make sure I'm leading in well.
For sure. How about friendships? Did you see modeled your dad having good friends, good
Mm.
Christian friends? Did you see any of that modeled?
Man, that was tough. My dad was pretty much a loner. And so he was out there trying to do it himself, which I think probably added to some of the challenge of really not knowing what to do. And so he really didn't have very much community. And so I'm very community oriented, and I've actually really learned the value of having some men in my corner who are going to speak into my life as a man and as a father to help me be the best that I can be. And so,
Yeah, I've known that about you, Rob, from our 10 years of knowing each other. That's a deep passion. And I kind of had guessed that might have been a pendulum swing of like, I didn't see that modeled. And now you're modeling, I mean, for your son and your daughter, they know that, just like I know that's deep, like men in your corner. And even the way you've invested this last year to build with all the limitations and things we can't do with COVID, you've built into Brotherhood in a huge way. So talk a little more about that principle and the impact and also the downside if you don't have it, if you're isolated, the vulnerabilities. So yeah, talk about Brotherhood.
It's so good. One of my life verses is out of Ecclesiastes, and it says, "One can be defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. And a triple braided cord is not easily broken." And so it's this idea that, man, if you're by yourself, the enemy can pick you off. But if you have a brother who can stand back to back with you, you can actually slay a lot of giants. You can win a lot of things. And I think so it really has been life to me, honestly. My greatest growth has been a result of a brother who would say, "Man, you need to deal with that," and it didn't feel good, Jeff. So I'm not saying this is something that it was one of those things where it was like, "Oh man, that feels great." It was actually through pain that that a brother would speak into my life. And specifically, I have one here in Oklahoma City that is, man, he is in my corner, and he doesn't always tell me what I like, but he tells me what I need. And I found that I've been able to avoid landmines as a result of that. I've been able to deal with some deeper things in my life that I didn't even know were there, that needed to be uprooted, so that actually my confidence would be found in the Lord and not in someone else's opinion, on someone else's thoughts. That which helped me actually to be a better dad, helped me to be a better husband, helped me to be a better man. And so I would say to those guys who don't have that, man, you need to find it. You need to be a part of a community where you can actually find some brothers that can strengthen you as a man. I think there's this ego sometimes we have as guys that, man, I got to pick myself up by my bootstraps. I got to do it by myself. And yeah, there's some times when you have to do some things yourself. No one's going to do it for you. But I love the illustration. I'm reading a book right now. It talks about this illustration of Navy SEALs, and kind of the whole idea that if you Navy SEALs, they're dependent upon their brothers to have their back. They're moving forward. The brother behind them has to take care of them because he has to have their six, or the whole thing could get blown up. The whole thing would fall apart. And the value that's so necessary, I think, even in the body of Christ, of understanding that you need people behind you who have your six, and the value of that. And if you don't have it, man, you have a weak spot where the enemy can hit you and really take you out.
Is that Killing Kryptonite, John Bevere? Is that the book?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Talk a little bit more about, and we'll link it in the show notes, this book. And I have learned from principles from him speaking, but I haven't read this book yet. So it's on my to read list. But talk about why you would recommend that book.
Man, and so this is, I didn't read it before I actually decided to do a book study on it with our men group. But man, I would say the key principles there is understanding the importance of community and how one person impacts that community. So either for the negative or for the positive. And so if there, the Bible talks about a man named Achan, and they were sin in the camp. And then Achan, his issue was, man, he brought sin in the camp, and people lost their lives as a result of his sin. And then the other thing is true is that when you have other people around you in the body of Christ, you actually can bring strength to one another in areas so that there's no weakness. And so there's parts of that we play that can either hinder the advancement of God's kingdom or advance it based off of how we are engaged in unity in the community. Yeah. And so and so it's a powerful book. It's been really encouraging for me. It's really challenging me to make sure I don't got anything in the place of God in my life, to make sure that I'm fully who God wants me to be. And
yeah, well, I think the tagline, if I have it right, is destroying what is destroying your strength. Killing Kryptonite is the name of the book. So yeah. We recommend it. And there's truly a battle going on. And if the enemy, if Satan can take out the dad, the ripple effect to our kids kid, the ripple versus the leveling up that is God's plan of us adding life. So it's we know there are things that are going to come after our strength as dads. They're going to help us. They're going to cause us to bring less than God's the gift that we're supposed to be able to bring to our kids, which we're all very imperfect dads. Let's be clear about that. It's funny. In fact, we'll go in this direction now. If I was to ask your wife, Nikki, if I was to say, hey, give me some not so awesome dad moments from Rob. So instead of you coming up with them, think through the filter of your wife, like areas that, of course, you're not perfect, but areas that like, hey, this is something that, Rob he's still working on, or he missed it here, but we all learned from it. Like what would be one or two of those stories that she would share?
Man, I would think one of the biggest things, my dad was a big disciplinarian, right? And so growing up, he was not afraid to spank your behind, so to speak. and that's it. When you needed it, he'd take care of business. And so I think early on, I had some major insecurities. I didn't realize this until about 2019, where God really took me on a journey of revealing some things that were in my heart, that were leading to some of my behaviors. And so one of the behaviors was anger. I would blow up. I would get frustrated. I would get angry. And a lot of it is because I was suppressing a lot of things. And so with all of that said, man, I think one of the things that she would say is there would be times where I would discipline the kids out of anger. And in those moments, man, I have just some regrets in those situations. The impact that it had on my kids, and they're looking at me and walking in fear. And instead of knowing that Dad loves you, and knowing that he's not going to react in this poor way. And so I have had to apologize to my kids many times and just say, hey guys, I'm sorry. That's not how I need to react. Pray for Dad. Dad's got to get better here. And they would forgive, and they would hug me, and we would grow in our relationship. But I would say those are the one time I blew up on my daughter, Sharissa. She's probably maybe 8 years old, and I just blew up on her, and man, she was cowering in the corner, and I was like, oh man, this is traumatic. I mean, this is not good. Since then, I think the Lord has done a deeper work in my heart. A lot of those were birthed out of insecurities in me. And once God really helped me deal with those insecurities and really realize that He is my source.
That's right.
I knew it, Jeff, but I didn't have a conviction about it. I wasn't convinced of some things. And so the Lord had to convince me of some things about who He is for me and who I am in Him. And those things allowed me to kind of walk through this. So I think I'm doing better today. I think if you ask my wife, how's he doing with his anger? I think she would say better.
Good.
And so, yeah.
Well, I know
the biggest one.
Yeah. And I know, like, physically, if physical strength, if we realize I haven't lifted weights in a while, or I haven't done those ab workouts, man, you can tell we have some signals of like, hey, there's some things going on. I think there's also those subtle signals when there's inner work that needs attention. And I'm curious if it was your friend that you've mentioned, if it was Brotherhood, or what was it in 2019, year and a half or whatever, 2 years ago, that caused some deeper work that helped in this anger kind of area? Was there any signals that for you?
There were several. Yeah. There were several, Jeff. And so one was a friend. He said, man, there's some stuff here, Rob, I'm seeing. that you got to deal with. And then he recommended another book to me. It's called Leadership Pain.
Yeah.
And a great book, highly recommended. It actually started me on this journey of really dealing with some stuff in my heart that I didn't realize was connected to a whole lot of things. And so reading through that book and then going through a breaking season. So ministry's hard, Jeff. It's tough.
Really?
And it's hard, man. And so here at the church, as I was growing and learning what it meant to be in the role that I was here, realizing I'm falling short in some areas, and I'm not measuring up to the standard at which leadership was wanting me to measure up to, and feeling like I had to measure up, or I wasn't able to measure up. It brought out all these insecurities in my heart, in my mind. And as I was kind of going through a really hard season, so I would say it was three critical factors. I was going through a really hard season. A friend was willing to say, "Hey, man, the way you're reacting is not healthy." And then I began to dive into that book.
Yeah.
And as I began to read that book, I began to see some things in me, and then God began to take me on a journey of renewing my mind, really is what it was. And changing some wrong beliefs I had because of my experiences, and allowing my beliefs to be rooted on God's truth rather than my experiences. And that was a shift for me that really caused a breakthrough in my life. And so those would be three. You got to have somebody who's willing to tell you the hard truth. And then for me, I found that a resource always helps me to figure out the process and the steps of that. But also I've learned that in our journey, don't be afraid of the pain. The pain that you experience is God's trying to show you and grow you through your pain. Wow. So embrace it and be willing to go on the journey. God will lead you.
And you hit that point with your kids in high school, upper high school, mid high school, like the gift of getting some of that inner heart work, the identity stuff earlier in dad life. I mean, it's always the way it works. We hit a growth period and we're like, oh, I wish I would have had that asset earlier. But for the dad who's listening that doesn't have the friend that's calling out, maybe they're not hitting the crisis moment or the moment of I don't have enough on the professional side. And then maybe they're not reading the book, right? The three factors. How would you encourage us if you were coaching me, my oldest is 7, to do some self-examination and do some of the hard work now versus wait till another, season. Yeah. Encourage me, coach me around that topic.
So man, Jeff, I would tell you, brother, anything that you're not liking in how you're behaving is tied to a root in your life that God is trying to uproot. And so anytime you see those things, I would say to you, hey man, dive into that. Ask the Lord, what insecurity, what lie are you believing from the enemy, and be willing to dig into it, and allow the Lord to do heart surgery on you, because you will be so much better of a dad, so much better of a husband, so much better of a man, and a leader once you really deal with some of the rootedness. Because here's why I believe in this so strongly, Jeff. This is one of I think the biggest things in my heart right now for men to deal with, is because the Bible says, guard your heart, for out of it flows the wellspring of life. Everything comes out of it. And so the issue is our wounds in our heart that we experience when we were little kids, when we get older, all of those things, the enemy has a way of allowing us in our brain, it's wired to where we have an experience, and now we create a belief out of that experience.
Oh, wow.
And every time something is similar to that, it reinforces that belief in our mind. And so I would say to anyone, if you're seeing behaviors that you don't like, if there are people, your wife is telling you there's behaviors in you that are not good.
Well, my wife doesn't have. There's nothing that she wants
nobody's
me to
wife
change.
does that, right? You're great. You're perfect. You're the best husband.
So not true. Yes. Keep going. I cut you off. Keep going.
No, you're great. And anyone who's close to you, they're gonna see your dirty laundry, right? And so pay attention to that. anything that you do that you realize that's not a good behavior, it is rooted in something.
Yep.
And take the time to uproot it. The earlier you can uproot it and change that root with a root belief that's rooted in God's word and who he says you are and who you are,
Yep.
And who he is for you. The quicker you can do that,
Game on.
the more you'll start walking in victory, and
All
you'll
the
actually
benefits.
see, yeah, you'll see so many benefits. You'll see, actually, for me in these last 2 years, I've actually seen favor open up in my life like I hadn't before.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, I don't feel like I'm even doing it. I'm not working harder. I have peace. I'm not walking with anxiety. I'm not walking with depression. I'm not
Yep.
walking with guilt. And I can't say that before. Before, I had all kind of guilt, had all kind of anxiety, had all kind of depression, and the things that guys often aren't talking about.
Yep.
But I was dealing with all of it, and
Yep.
stress would hit, and it would cause all those reactions to happen.
Yep.
And once I dealt with those roots, man, stress hits me different, Jeff. It hits me different.
And you know what? You still can be, you can still bring life to people around you when you have all that stuff, the roots that you haven't dug. You can still be a benefit, a positive dad. But I just want to pinpoint for a second. So we had lunch maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and like that time with you was really good, but I didn't walk away like feeling like it changed the trajectory of my dad life or my life, the time with you, because it was just like, it was good brother time, but not okay. The difference when we connected 2 months ago and I got off the call with you, I felt like I was like, oh my word, I'm so inspired to go after my purpose. And then I started looking into the Brotherhood, just this one little focus of your ministry. And we're going to link to it, the Saturday and the Thursday Brotherhood groups that you have. I just roughly, Rob, how many guys have been impacted, even just once, by that ministry the last 12 months since COVID hit? Roughly, do you have any ballpark of how many guys have joined you?
Man, I would say impacted in the last year, started at zero, Jeff.
Yeah, right,
I
exactly.
would say we're probably, we've impacted, I would say, at least 400 plus guys.
Okay, so I just want everyone to listening to hear this. So this is the benefit when you move from I'm okay, I'm doing my job, my family loves me, to doing the heart work, the inner work. The potential within a year and a half of that breakthrough, 400 plus guys have been in a year that we all need hope and we need inspiration. We need book studies around, and not that every dad reads the book, but they've all been blessed in some way by interacting with you. So I just want to make sure if no one else is calling, I want to call out the difference of doing the heart work, how much it matters, and how I've been impacted by. So guys listening, do the work, because you have no idea that you will be a catalyst to other dads, other men, other spheres of influence. It's not just for yourself and your kids. It's so easy to think that it's painful, I don't want to dig out these roots, and the impact could be a multiplier that is far beyond what anyone.
And it's so much more beneficial for you. I didn't understand. I didn't know what I didn't know, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize on the backside, man, I have more peace. And my relationships are better. I got more patience. The more of the fruit of the spirit is evident in my life because I uprooted some stuff in my life that shouldn't have been there. It is beneficial to you, but also it's beneficial to your impact, I think, in your family, as well as going out to a lot of people. I'm 100% with you, brother.
And one more story that'll add to it. So I was cleaning dishes in our kitchen, and I'm cleaning dishes, and I'm like, man, I just have the strongest headache. What is going on? I just felt bad. And I realized that the gas was on in the stove.
Oh no.
And so I aired out the whole house, and I'm like, okay, but imagine if you're living that way, that you're breathing in toxic gas that will kill you. That's the place that I think a lot of us live, because we haven't done the inner, we have the potential of airing out, opening the windows, turning the gas off, breathe, and not carry a headache mentality into our dad life, our profession. How much more effective am I going to be if I'm not breathing in natural gas from my stove?
Your body's going to function right.
This is that critical. This is how critical it is to have friends, to do the heart work, to welcome adversity, welcome hard things with what in me needs to change. And I want to pivot to just practical for a moment, because it's easy to go heart work, but any just coaching for, doesn't matter what chapter, high school kids, junior high kids my age, younger dad season, just any coaching tips as you think about, hey, this is some things that you would encourage, or, if you had blitz mentoring to do with a bunch of dads, just what comes to mind that you'd want to share with us?
Man, I would say one of the biggest things I'm noticing, and COVID has amplified it. I'm noticing in a lot of conversations, is that a lot of people are struggling in their communication.
Mm.
They don't know how to communicate well. They didn't have good examples of
Sure.
communication, and they don't have They don't have good conflict resolution skills. And so I would say the biggest things I would say practically is seek first to understand your kid,
Mhm.
seek first to understand your wife, seek first to understand anyone, um, and seek to listen with a mindset to understand, not a mindset to uh, refute
Yeah,
the
that's
other
so good for
person's
me.
idea. It's so
Yep.
good for all of us
Yep.
because that's our tendency is I gotta refute, I gotta share with you why you're wrong, why I'm right.
Sure.
And we have to take that back and say, okay, let me see, first understand. When
Mhm.
you're telling me you're upset with me because I ain't home and I'm out here playing basketball and hanging out with the guys too much, really that is a cry saying, hey, I want to spend time with you.
Mhm.
And I need to seek to understand what's behind
Yep.
that rather than get upset and start reacting to it and saying how I am doing what you need me to do. Nah. So I think any relationship, when I seek to understand you, I can then say, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to come across that
Yep.
way. Here was my intent. How can I do that better? That it hits you better? How can we walk forward in agreement in what this is going to look like now?" And begin to seek to understand, and then not make it about my answer, make it about, okay, how will we agree on a solution and walk together. um, I'm learning that more with my kids, to seek to understand their perspective, to
Wow.
not get angry and upset when these young adults are coming with their own ideas and their own thoughts about how I am and what I need to change,
Mhm.
and all of these things that happen as kids grow, or even when they're young. Seek to understand. Um,
Yep.
it's a big point. I couldn't do it until I was whole, though.
Yep.
There's a part there where my insecurity kept causing me to be defensive.
Mhm.
Um, and so, if there's a lot of defensiveness in any person, any dad, any man out there, I would say, man, there's something behind that.
Mhm.
Deal with that. Because once you deal with that, you'll actually be in a good place where you can actually seek to understand and it doesn't hit your value.
Yep. That's super helpful. I'm going to have in a moment, Rob, ask you to pray for all of us listening, but just give you a moment if there's any last thing you wanted to share. And I will link out to, again, the books you mentioned, both books, and the Zoom, the Brotherhood groups that you're leading, which is so cool that people can join from anywhere. Even the time zone, the times you've picked are really inclusive of anyone in the different time zones in the US. So yeah, anything else that you'd want to share with us before you say a short prayer?
Man, I would say, men, understand who you are in Christ. Understand that you are fearfully, wonderfully made, that you have unique gifts and abilities and talents
Mhm.
and skills. And just because you may not have the skills that another brother may have,
Sure.
or the abilities that someone else may have, understand that your value is not based off of what you do. It's based off of whose you are. You belong to the Father, and your value is rooted in that. Stand confident in that. Understand you have something to offer your kids, you have something to offer your spouse, you have something to offer your church, you have something to offer this world. And walk in your gifts
Mhm.
and let other people do the things that you're not so gifted in,
Yeah.
and celebrate them in it as well. We all need each other. Get a brother in your corner,
Mhm.
and I believe that you'll become all that God wants you to be.
Yeah. Would you pray specifically for that brother in their corner, and then pray for identification of some of those roots that just
That's
need
good.
attention? Yeah. Would you pray for us?
Absolutely. Well, Father God, I just come before you today. I thank you for all of the dads who are watching this here today, God. I'm grateful for the ministry that Jeff is using this Dad Awesome podcast, Lord, to invest in the lives of men. So whether dads are followers of Christ, or whether they're just watching as dads who found this podcast and they want to be the best dads that they can be, God, I just ask today that, Father, you would allow men today to see into their heart. Lord, I pray that you would bring revelation and insight, Lord, to see the areas of their lives that, Lord, are not rooted in you, that are rooted in something else, rooted in the desire to be someone, to have that power, to have that prestige, to have that acceptance, to not be rejected. All those things that cloud, Lord, our purpose and cause us to be focused on so many of the wrong things. God, I ask that you would reveal them, and I pray that you would give men a strategy, your strategy, and how they can be uprooted. And Lord, I also pray, Lord, for my brothers out there who are by themselves, who are alone, who need some other brothers in their corner. God, we know that two are better than one because they can help each other succeed and can stand back to back and conquer. God, I pray that you would lead them to a brother, a friend who cares enough about them to stand in their corner, to share with them the truth that maybe other people aren't willing to share. And God, I pray that through that, God, we would see you do a powerful work in the hearts and lives of every dad, every man today. And Lord, we thank you that greater days are to come. And you have plans to prosper us, to give us a hope and a future, because that's what you do. We just ask this all in Jesus' name.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for episode 166 with Rob Champion. All the show notes, the transcripts, all the action steps and links are going to be at dadawesome.org/166. So you can look up all those notes there, and we just want to make this helpful. We know you guys are working out, you guys are doing house projects, you guys are you're active as you listen, and we just want to make this really easy. Want to encourage you guys, as always, let's be sharing Dad Awesome. So simply share in your social stories, or you can just text another dad, dadawesome.org, to pass along this resource, whether it's today's episode with Rob Champion or any of the other 165 episodes that we've had over the last 3 years. So let's be sharing Dad Awesome. Let's be sharing the opportunity, Fathers for the Fatherless. Again, registration is open. This is a perfect time. We're in 5 different cities across the U.S. and rallying dads. If you know another dad who likes a hard challenge, likes a challenge to do something epic, or a dad who specifically likes cycling, or a dad who just wants to be more intentional and do something hard and grow some brotherhood and go after a cause that is meaningful, helping the fatherless, just share with them ffref.bike. That's the website, all the info on Fathers for the Fatherless. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Let's go add some life to the dad life this week.